Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 45. Can't believe it's 45 already. Almost 50. What we were saying right before we hit the record button of Matt and John Make a Podcast. This is going to be at least for unfortunately.
What is possibly happening in the world right now, Matt? It's only been about 20 minutes since I drove from here to here from my house. Did anything as far as wrestling news happen within that 20 minutes?
Okay, John, with a spoiler. I mean, if you're a wrestling fan on Twitter, and you've been living under a rock, unless you were living under a rock, excuse me. Yesterday we had the hashtag speaking out trend, and all these news broke of female wrestlers among pretty much all over different promotions around the world,
Everywhere,
UK, everywhere.
Mainly in the freaking UK, but there have been some others.
Yes.
Some others noted.
So basically, again, what happened yesterday is a bunch of female professional wrestlers came out and told stories and accused several, at least for now, UK wrestlers, some wrestling in the United States, of sexual assault or abuse or what have you, which is obviously, I don't have to say, a big accusation. Now, I want to put this out here and say that until there's more evidence, obviously, I don't want to assume guilty until proven innocent. I mean, these are all accusations. Nothing's been confirmed, but at the same time, you don't want to just completely poo-poo all these accusations, because a lot of women have said the same thing or really come out. At least yesterday was the breaking point on Twitter. This is, not really, I don't want to say shocking, in wrestling, because stuff has happened obviously before in other professions. We had, was it last year or a year before?
It's very Hollywood.
Me Too movement.
It's like pretty much how I describe it to a few of my to some other people. It's pretty much Hollywood of like Me Too here. Just seeing pretty much every sort of accusation that was kind of going around. Pretty much people are coming out. Probably one of the bigger names, which came out earlier this morning, Matthew Riddle, who, by the way, his attorney pretty much before we started recording here, came out with a statement basically saying that this person has been cyber stalking Riddle for the last few years. His accuser basically said that he pretty much forced her into intercourse, essentially, which Riddle denies. Although, there was obviously something going on there. Like there was an obvious affair. It's just the big question is, was it consensual? It just kind of depends on who you believe at this point right now.
This apparently, I know nobody's going to be able to see this. This is I guess a picture of a letter that Matt Riddle's attorney on Twitter, Daniel Rose, apparently just tweeted out about 30 minutes ago as of this recording. Pretty much, I'm going to skip around by, I don't know why. The thing is, I don't know why, this is weird before I go into it. It looks like he printed this off of, look at this, looks like he printed this off of mailing labels.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Someone actually said that. It was
really?
Like, yeah. Someone actually said that looks really, really.
Oh, and coincidentally, it fell below tweet, so he must have deleted.
Yeah.
If this is actually, I guess if this was actually him, I don't know.
Well,
anyhow,
Reddit posted that. Like he posted that on his Twitter though. So
I mean, the statement too.
legit.
Yeah. So basically, they had issues with this woman before.
Mm-hmm.
And to read this last paragraph, in 2019, our firm had drafted a pleading against this performer to seek an injunction for cyber stalking in the Circuit Court of Orange County, Florida. So apparently, obviously, according to Riddle and his attorney, this woman has been an issue before.
Yep.
And so I guess either overnight breaking this morning, there was obviously news of Riddle being involved in this. The story itself, when I first heard it from this performer, this female, to me didn't make, like, out of all the ones I've read, like, this one, at least there's details missing that it doesn't make sense. So basically, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, if I'm missing anything, please fill me in. So it was her and Riddle and 3 other wrestlers in this car. Presumably, as she's telling the story, like, they're driving, and the 3 are asleep, and Riddle and this female are obviously up. So somebody's driving. One of these 2 are driving. It's obviously not the other 3 that are asleep, or bad things are going to happen. And Riddle says to her to get on top of him or whatever.
Yep.
The paraphrase. So if he's driving, and if she would get on top of him, he's not going to be able to. How would that be? Would they pull off to the side? How are the 3 not going to be able to hear? Is this going to be driving? If it's the other way around, if he's driving, he's saying, like, it doesn't, to me, doesn't make sense. And
we don't know enough details to, like, like, did they actually pull off on the side too? So that's why.
Yeah, the details are sketchy there. The story doesn't make sense. And then apparently he grabbed her by the throat and said, "What if I make you?" or something like that. And she performed oral sex on him.
Mm-hmm. Which from what he said, this is absolutely false. And I grabbed from what he sent to an apparent DM to someone. He was like, basically that she had been stalking him for a pretty long time. He had to change phone numbers on 3 separate occasions, and he at some point was pretty close to filing some sort of a restraining order, and he said that currently currently him and WWE are lawyer are currently looking into this, which it's obviously it's not gonna be getting pretty, because this is a pretty big accusation, and if she's found out to be even lying about this, like, her career is
done,
right? Because
who's gonna book her?
Exactly, and that's why I'm hoping she's telling the truth here. But if this has turned out just to be something just to kind of sabotage him, or just to pretty much jump on top of everything else that's happening, it looks really
because
bad.
what's unfortunate is that I'm gonna pretty much, I think this happens always when you have this big blow up. I presume you can have 80-90% of the cases or accusations be true.
Yep.
But then you have the other 5%, what have you, of people are just, again, jumping on the bandwagon and just doing it. If you hate the person or whatever, it unfortunately happens.
Oh, I mean, especially with people in the public eye, like
Yes.
guys such as like Zeke Elliott. He was part of that, where pretty much a like a woman lied about some sort of assault. I also recall too. I think John Puccigross had something similar where
That's right.
where a girl basically suggested
That was around the Me Too time,
right,
yeah.
but like for him, he saved all of the actual messages and stuff, so pretty much he had his bases covered. So this kind of stuff does happen, and like I'm not gonna question anything until we actually have some more information come through. It's not fair to anyone to really make any harsh legitimate judgments.
I think there's too much happening to say nothing. I mean, overall cases didn't happen. We're not saying that. Of course, I think in this business, wrestling business, or any company, or in life in general, stuff like this unfortunately does happen. Again, other people, on the other hand, unfortunately, can take advantage of the situation for whatever reason. I just found another wrestler that was accused. He wrestles for NXT UK. He was the NXT Cruiserweight Champion, and due to pandemic stuff, coronavirus, he was stuck in England, so he kind of didn't get stripped. But anyways, so he released a statement. He tweeted about, again, as of this recording, about 35 minutes ago, as of 5:13 on this Friday, the 19th here. So I want to read this. It's pretty short. It spans over 3 tweets. So here we go. I didn't even want to address the hurtful allegation made against me, but for the sake of my followers and friends on this platform that may, for whatever reason, be unsure, I'm going to address this once. The recent allegation made against me is completely and utterly false, and I deny it entirely. This is a case of malicious personal agenda being executed against me on the back of a very brave telling of true experiences by other women. I completely denounce it. This is all I will say on the matter, and I am now working with a legal team to help decide how to proceed from here. And then he signs with his name.
I feel like that's probably what you're gonna be getting a lot with these cases is that and I was listening to a separate podcast this morning, Batman podcast, who are a great show. Andrew and like Rich there are pretty good, but they were talking and Andrew, he's been talking with a like few people, and he was talking specifically about the UK scene, where like and with this specific wrestler who he didn't really release his name, but pretty much he was saying it's not a freaking wrestling issue. It's more of a UK bar issue, because supposedly, first of all, over there, Matt, like I think you can start legally drinking at like 16. I think it is. And
something like
and
that.
and this specific wrestler kind of contributed that to that playing a somewhat of a hand as to why things are kind of so crazy and stuff, which I can definitely buy, just because even at 16 that is way too soon for anyone to even consider starting to drink.
There's, not to go off at a tangent here, but like alcohol, I mean, the brain is obviously not fully developed until your early 20s. I forget, because I was reading this book for school, and very interesting, and drinking, and obviously when you're young and you're dumb, as everybody was in their day in some form or fashion, getting drunk and all that, just it doesn't help. But
because
off the soapbox here,
because isn't your brain like, I don't think it's fully developed until you're at least 25,
something
right?
like that, 23, 25.
Okay, yeah, because I recall watching a podcast of like Rogan's, and he was saying something along those lines where your brain isn't fully developed until your mid or late 20s. So I definitely feel that has a case too, but it's also too just how just how weird that things have been, guys and girls, when they're getting really intoxicated, do really stupid shit. So when you put that into the mix, it's just, unfortunately, some of these things happen, and man, pretty much the whole list.
Still no excuse.
Zero excuse.
Yes, let's put that out there.
Yeah, zero excuse, but still, there's the most of these cases are coming from that segment, which is definitely something to peek at. But something else I was thinking about too, Matt. Does this put the final nail in the coffin for WWE UK? Do you think, because pretty much that's that whole entire roster who was being with these accusations here? Would this be it for them?
I don't think so, because
I think the only UK person who hasn't been accused has been Walter. I'm pretty sure.
It seems like it,
right?
I don't know, because if the majority of these turn out to be false or no charges or whatever,
right?
How can you tell a performer or any employee, okay, there was no former charges, no credible evidence at this time, but regardless, we're not pointing you on. It's not fair to them. And on a related note, real quick, I saw a WWE statement that came out a little bit ago. So from the company, quote, individuals are responsible for their own personal actions. WWE has zero tolerance for matters involving domestic violence, child abuse, and sexual assault. Upon arrest for such misconduct, a WWE talent will be immediately suspended. Upon conviction for such misconduct, a WWE talent will be immediately terminated. WWE's ability to fine, suspend, or terminate a WWE talent will not be, however, limited or compromised in any manner in the event incontrovertible, that's a big word, incontrovertible evidence, I never saw that word, of such legal misconduct is presented to WWE.
So just based off of that, Riddle's gonna be suspended at least for the foreseeable future.
Is that what that meant?
Yeah, I mean, just will be for that long word that you couldn't pronounce.
I swear to God, I've never really seen that.
But
is that what the?
it's so like you figure. I mean, to his contract is coming up to this year, so could not have been any worse timing on his part as well.
I think that in the way it's true, right. But it's a convenient of time for him debuting on SmackDown. Right. If the story is not true, I think that statement basically is legal speak of recovered our asses. So either we don't have to do anything because we don't have evidence, or we can't do anything because we feel like it. So to me, that's just who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But at least that first part goes to what I was saying before with if nobody has evidence against them, you really can't hold that against them.
And that's going to be the issue on that person's who is accusing Riddle is like, just as of currently, she doesn't really have anything on him outside of just
right
hearsay right now.
But at the same time, this is going to be, how can it not be a stain on both parties, regardless? Absolutely. Take, for example, it always brings it up, football, Roethlisberger had that accusation of that rape in that bathroom stall or whatever, and that
on 2 separate occasions, by the way.
But nothing was proved.
Nope.
So you can't say that he actually did that if there's no actual evidence that can.
Same with Kobe Bryant too. Yeah.
Right. So, but that you always hear people, at least out of town, fans of other teams, like on comments on social media, always say stuff like Ben Rapelessberger or something with the rapist.
Or like cool guys. He never got charged with anything.
You can't. Nothing was proved. If you can't prove it, then and until there's evidence, it has not happened. Actually, it doesn't actually happen. Did he do it? Again, you don't know.
I'm thinking he could have, but it's a bunch of hearsay at this point, and unless there is some more physical proof, honestly, this. At some point it's going to freaking blow over because I guarantee you,
everything does.
Yeah, it's something's going to be sent to this person saying, "Hey, you are not to speak about this."
Cease and desist.
Yep, cease and.
I butchered that.
Oh my god!
Whatever, you get the point.
Yeah, so I'm definitely expecting something along that line because she really doesn't have anything to stand on. But I get what she was trying to do. She's trying to raise awareness about the abuse issue because it is a problem. Because it is a giant problem. And I'm not going to deny any second of that because you don't have these many cases coming out and there not being a problem, because I absolutely believe, especially higher up in the WWE, somewhere in the last 30 to 40 years, a few cases had to have happened. I think it's being very naive to think that basically Vince and all of those higher execs are completely clean. It just, that's being extremely naive in my opinion there. But I think if anything else, this is going to make people a lot more careful of who they associate themselves with, and present themselves way more professionally, and to get this stuff out of the current industry, because man, as you know, with this some call it sports, some call it entertainment. This has been a thing for a very long time. Whether you go back into the 70s, 80s, WWF, WCW, ECW, TNA, whatever, it's been there. And honestly, Matt, the first thing I heard about this, do you know anything about David Starr?
No.
Okay, so basically, this guy who was a big activist for basically trying to union to try to unionize wrestlers to get to try what.
Was that covered in the Dark Side of the Ring, or was that somebody else?
No, that was someone completely different. This guy, he's like in his late 20s or early 30s now, but he's been trying for years to try and to get something going, and he was one of the first people to get accused. Supposedly he is being accused of sexual assault. I think of at least a few women for sure, and he got annihilated on social media. It was so bad that he completely just deleted all of his social media, and I believe he was even outlawed from at least 2 or 3 independent promotions too. On top of that, so I mean, which this kind of surprised me too, Matt, because this guy, along with him trying to do everything he can to get the ball rolling into like unionizing wrestlers, has been very outspoken to guys such as like Jim Cornette, for his comments on pretty much anything when it comes to women, or whether it he like race or whatever. It's like so that happened, and then of course there was this other story with Jim Cornette, which, speaking of him, I had heard something similar to this, and I had completely forgot about it. But supposedly, when he was in OVW, which was I think around what was it, like 03 to 06
something in the
somewhere around there,
early 2000s.
Well, this one particular wrestler who was in OVW is accusing Jim of forcing wrestlers to sleep with his wife in order to pretty much get any sort of a break, and this person provide multiple texts and like pictures, very very disturbing texts too, I might add, and as you could expect, Cornette commented on that this morning, and pretty much threatened legal action for this person, and he pretty much said that all of that stuff was completely photoshopped, and is 100% false, and which, I mean, I don't know who to exactly believe here, because I can definitely believe somewhat of that story, and it just mean, like, how do you Photoshop that is what I would like to know.
Honestly, people can Photoshop anything. I've seen stuff, deep fakes. Yeah. So, but here's Jim Cornette's response. This was at 7:38 this morning, as of the 19th. Helpful hint: I've been told that when you're faking screenshots of something that happened years ago, you shouldn't use the person's profile picture that's only been up a week and a half. It's the little things, but that's for attorneys to discuss.
Huh. It's a good point too.
It's true, and
it's a good point too. Yeah.
And thing that happened, a tweet right before that, was, warning all, I know that my name has been involved in everything because it gets attention, but I'm too busy running a pizza parlor from the basement of my pedophile ring to make any Twitter goofs, and there's 700 fake accounts famous today. So in Jim Cornette's style, he denies it. Yeah. And so see, it's another thing with that. Yep. Like, I don't want to be like, it's Jim Cornette. Now, of course, I believe that. It's not, like, you can't do that. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to reserve judgment until, like, there's actual 100% a court case ruling that says between these two, okay, here's the evidence. This is what happened. Boom. Case closed.
Yeah.
And until then, I mean, if it did happen, again, that's terrible, and it shouldn't have happened. But like yesterday was just.
It was like shitstorm after shitstorm that was just happening, and you were like, what else could possibly happen? No, I said this at 7 p.m. yesterday. 1 hour later, the Jim Cornette story hits. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
I read that. I just going through Twitter with the hashtag speaking out and just reading through all this stuff and just being like,
what the hell is happening?
What?
Oh, and then
all of a sudden, yesterday it was just,
and then it was a few hours later that freaking Carmella and Corey Graves story came out.
Oh God!
I was like,
I think people made a big. If I read that, people made a big deal
yeah,
out of that.
it was like, I'm just like, that's
about
like,
the golden shower.
I was like, what's like? It's their personal life. Like, who are we to freaking judge or care about that?
But she didn't say. She really didn't say that was what. It was taken out of context.
It was completely taken out of context.
She likes golden showers.
Like, no, she clearly said that as a freaking joke. Like, which I'm just like, I was like, I'm freaking reading this. I'm like, of course, this comes up today.
Yeah, you sent me that, and I read this. I went, what is happening?
Like,
not to make light of it, but with that story,
I'm just like, what? Like, just what in the hell is happening?
Well, like, okay, yeah. If they want to do freaky stuff, let them do freaky stuff.
It's their personal lives, okay?
Well, I don't care.
They can do whatever the hell that
apparently
they want.
People care, but I don't care if she wants to.
Hey man, those crazy Alexa Bliss and Sasha Banks accounts, they are freaking nuts, and you know it.
Oh yeah, there's fan accounts.
Oh my God,
that's why I don't follow them.
Alexa Bliss fan 578923334
or with a profile picture from that's the exact same one that she has on Twitter,
right? Just
posting pictures and stuff,
which is creepy as hell.
I'm just like
creepy as hell. I'm just like, oh my God, these people have no lives. Oh, speaking of like no lives, did you see or hear about that stalker showing up at the WWE Performance Center?
Yes.
Apparently, for some reason, Dana Brooke and it was like one other women's wrestler invited him into the Performance Center.
They invite him in it?
Supposedly. I'm like, why are you like? Because apparently this person has been charged multiple times with some form.
Yeah, didn't he get shot outside?
Yeah, like with him trespassing and whatever. I'm like, why is he anywhere even near here? Like, because he's gone to prison, I'm pretty sure multiple times, and it's still happening. And apparently he called out Triple H and wanted to fight him. And
yeah, it's gonna end perfectly,
right? And just like people are just weird. And I saw earlier in the week this one crazy fan account was going after Sasha Banks' husband, claiming to pretty much kill him. I'm just like, my God, you people are like some of these wrestling fans, man, just like obsessive, crazy, any other words that that you can possibly think of. Like, that's how I would describe this. It's just weird, but I mean,
I see all this. I'm like, I'm missing here because I just social media as of late with the politics, with the COVID, with sports is not that bad, but
sports is nowhere near as bad right now.
No, but it's there with the obvious racial issues in this country.
Yep.
It's just I'm just tired of that's all I'm seeing. Not saying I don't want my words to be mixed up. I'm not saying I'm tired of the racial stuff needs to be done, absolutely, but it's just all blah, just blah in your face, and it's just there's nothing good. It's like I'm tired of all this stuff anymore, and like
I mean, I've had a lot of friends who have deleted their social media accounts just because it is so toxic.
Yeah. Did you? I got to bring this up real quick. Yeah. Did you see that video? And there's another of this. Apparently, this female cop, she bought a McMuffin.
I did.
And
she's just breaking down and
because it wasn't ready in time, and then somehow she, I don't know, connected it with cops being treated badly with McDonald's.
At freaking McDonald's. That's your judgment for being true.
I mean, unless
that can happen to anyone.
unless the person who worked there said something like derogatory, which there's no proof.
Yeah, which apparently
she never said, because I kind of watched the video, and I had a McMuffin this morning, by the way. I almost cried.
And yeah, like I just saw that. I'm just like, girl, if you can't handle that, you probably should not be on the police force. Like it's
a McMuffin.
It's a McMuffin.
If that's all it was and it wasn't ready, there's bigger issues that are concerning you, obviously as the officer, than a McMuffin.
I'm just like, I mean, like I did not watch the whole entire thing.
It's like 2 minutes.
I'm like, so. This is stupid. I got more important things to be doing right now. So I didn't even see the whole thing. It's just
like 2 minutes. Like it starts off like she was okay and she was explaining the story, and then like all of a sudden it just hit her like emotions that the person came out and delivered, because she got a coffee, I think McMuffin or whatever, and a hash brown, and the person brought out, because you know how you have to pull off to the side if it's not ready, which happened to me several times back in the day. And the person just brought the coffee and no McMuffin, and at that point in the story, that's when she starts to lose it. And if you haven't seen it, just search on Twitter McMuffin, and you're just gonna see just the video everywhere and the comments, and there's like a universal like not hatred, that's not the right word, but like mocking of the cop. I don't think everybody's like saying, oh, nobody's defending her,
or I'm Karen.
Like the Karens.
My God, like I can't tell you how many spoofs and parodies that I've seen of that.
Yeah, it's just, it's just social media has just been it's way blown out of proportion, and another thing that's blown out of proportion. I wanted to talk about this before, real quick, is everybody's making a big deal out of, apparently there's the plume of dust coming off of Africa now. Everybody's like sensationalizing this, like, oh, 2020, oh my God, I have a weather background. Yeah, there's sand from the Sahara Desert in Africa. It happens. This happens all the time, but it just happened to be a bigger plume than usual. Every situation's right. The wind blows up the dust from the desert, right? And it goes up in the atmosphere. It catches the trade winds, and it moves east to west across the Atlantic. And when I was reading this before you came over to get more information, it comes over, and usually if it falls out of the atmosphere, it falls out like in the Amazon. I think it has benefit for the Amazon, and even like beaches and stuff, maybe in the Caribbean, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on this. I Googled this, read this, I think, article from like physics.org or whatever, and and with the dust in the atmosphere, that means there is dry air, which and which helps suppress hurricanes, because hurricanes don't like dry air. You need moisture for stuff to form. So this can help. This helps. At least this big plume helps stop a hurricane and tropical storm formation, at least for the time being. And another thing, once it gets to America, or any place, it helps create some nice, beautiful sunsets, with the particulate in the air and the reflection and refraction of sunlight. You get the reds and the cool, the nice colors that everybody takes pictures of. And maybe the only downside is if it falls from the sky. You get, if you have sensitive groups, maybe worsens, but aggravates. That's the word. Aggravates, maybe like breathing problems or whatever. But for the most part, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, it happens all the time. There's dust, maybe not to this for much of an extent, because I think there was a video. I think Joe Rogan was talking about this. I saw a clip earlier today of, dust storms over in Africa. You see those pictures of cities, and you just see this big wall of dust and cloud. But the stuff happens, and people are like, you just see on like social media, people just overreacting about this. I'm like, Jesus, Mary and Joseph, calm down.
And to me, like, whatever you see on social media, that is not real life, people. I think that needs to be stated. Like, a lot of the things that of what you hear on there is not what a lot of people.
I don't believe
think.
half the thing
Right.
people post or
Exactly.
what it's. I tend to try to investigate myself and be like, even in real life, when people say something, I don't even know an example, but whatever, I'm like, I tendency not to believe people and kind of do somewhat research on my own, just to fact check and make sure what they're telling me is the truth. I kind of just like that. I almost don't trust anybody anymore.
That is for sure, and quite frankly, you see it every day. And to kind of like pivot back onto the wrestling talk, I wanted to get your opinion on something, Matt, and I'm pretty sure that we'll probably disagree on this. And this has to do with NXT, because supposedly Vince McMahon is taking more of a hands-on approach for the week-to-week shows. And this was essentially confirmed on the Observer this week, that he's going to be pretty much is going to be helping out running these shows now. What is your thought on this? Are you concerned, or what? How are you feeling if this is true?
If it's true, not surprised at all. When you told me this, I'm all like, wait, Vince is taking control of something that isn't part of his business.
Well, and on top of that, he was supposedly said that he is very frustrated that NXT is continuously losing against Dynamite too.
I mean, if it's true, I could see that. I mean, I'm not surprised. What I would
concerned.
I don't know how much concerned I am. I can see at least, and I think we saw it with this week, more main roster talent coming down.
Also, to a lot more skits, a lot more segments to than what we would typically see on a week of NXT. You know.
Are you talking about something happened recent with?
Yeah, it was basically. It was like basically this week. I felt like you saw more skits, more specifically with the Adam Cole
Undisputed Era.
Yeah, Undisputed Era stuff there.
I'd say I don't know. Yeah, I it's maybe it's I don't know if that's directly Vince. I think maybe they're. See, I don't want to say like this is definitely happening because not everything the Observer says is
we'll find
true.
out. We will find out in the next few weeks who is really writing these shows.
I think it's still mainly Triple H, Michaels, Road Dogg,
hopefully,
and all that is taking at least majority control. I think maybe they're just doing stuff maybe to add stuff to change it up, so it's not just completely wrestling.
Which is not a bad thing because that has been one of my criticisms is that there's too much wrestling on.
So I don't think it's that for that aspect. I don't think it's that bad at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think it changes it up. Like that the Gargano Candice stuff in their dinner in their dining room, and then
which was kind of different because we hadn't really seen that sort of thing before from NXT. So
and then the response from Keith Lee and
like
Miriam pairing in that, like stuff like that. It's something like different than just it's 2 hours wrestling, some story getting built, but nothing outside. I mean, with I want to see when everything somewhat gets back to normal, whenever the hell that's going to be, how these shows are produced, and that's across the board.
I will say this: so if he is indeed taking NXT and pretty much being in charge, I'm concerned, and it has nothing to do with NXT's presentation or talent or whatever. It's just Vince has a track record, and especially with the last few years with his shows, they've been for the most part not good. So like as far as like how he portrays characters or just consistently micromanages everything going on, like that I think is going to be really obvious. And when I saw this, I immediately sank. I'm like, if he like thinks that basically his style is going to actually work in gaining more people, I don't think that's going to really happen, because even when they had the whole thing on Survivor Series, Matt, that was good for I think a week or two, and they weren't exactly killing AEW at the from there either. So I'm not sure, even if he implements this, if there's going to be any big time results either. You know,
well, it's to me we have to wait and see if it's actually true, because I again, with stuff on the internet, I don't always believe at least reports stuff.
Yeah.
Who knows if it's actually true? So I don't get worked up on it. I hear it, I read it, and then if it comes to fruition, then okay, then we knew it. But I'm not gonna worry about it until like something obviously drastically happens.
Yeah. I mean, like it would kind of make sense to me too, because more so to do with Karrion Kross, just because I can't recall the last person ever on the NXT brand where they just pushed that person pretty much as soon as they debuted right to the very top. Like even people such as Ciampa, Adam Cole, Bobby Roode, etc., Nakamura, they were built up over a longer period of time. It's just it's very different from how typically that they build guys.
At least in the meantime, at least now they're not having Cross face Cole right away. They're doing the United States North American Championship next week, triple threat, and the winner of that goes on to face Cole for winner take all, which is presumably
Finn?
No, it was just, well, maybe. Presumably, maybe Cole's last stand on the way
I would think so.
to get him off, because after this,
I think pretty much after SummerSlam, he'll be on either Raw or SmackDown at that point. Because, and we've talked about this, there's nothing else for him to do at this point.
Ad nauseum, he's done everything.
He's won every title. He's feuded with everyone. He's been in so many high pivotal moments. Like,
he's peaked. He's one of top 5 NXT superstars that they've had,
and
arguably.
Like honestly, if you wanted to keep him there, I think you would probably have to split up the Undisputed Era and maybe turn him face, because currently as a heel, he's pretty much done everything now. So it's just like, you don't know where else to go with him. But since we're on the NXT talk, and since we didn't really do a show this week, Matt, just your general overall thoughts.
I'm not gonna remember
on, or no, basically
general thoughts.
Yeah, just your general thoughts on.
I think it was I think it was a good show. They really, like I mentioned before, they built 2 high profile matches for the next, I believe, 2 weeks. Next week is triple threat for the
July 1st and July 8th are going to be really big weeks for both shows there. Yeah.
Was it July?
Yeah, it's
next week, July 1st.
No,
June 24th, and then June 8th. I think it's 2 weeks apart.
You mean next Wednesday it's going to be
triple threat for for North American. That's the 24th.
Yeah, and
then they said on the 8th. So there's a week gap between the winner take all, I think.
It's a first for because
yeah, but they said the 8th on TV.
Okay, yeah.
I'm pretty sure they said the 8th.
Okay, yeah.
So I think there's like that gap, week build to that winner take all match, which is fine. So they had that, and I think that the North American one is Keith Lee, Gargano, and Balor, and then the winner of that faces Cole for both titles.
Yeah.
So that was good. Cross had they did a little backstage. Nobody didn't speak. It was basically just saw his foot because Keith Lee smashed the sandglass backstage with Cole, and then later there was that black and white shot of Scarlett coming over, grabbing a bunch of sand, and then Cross coming over with his foot and they stepping on glass and cracking it. Nothing was said, but it was just great how they.
It's like I said, him versus Keith Lee is by far the biggest match that they can do right now. It's like that. Like if that thing does not do a good rating, then I don't know what's going to do a good rating for NXT. Then that's a giant match right there.
Yeah. You just have the diehards for AEW. Like, I don't know. I don't see things. I would like to know how many people actually watch NXT later after they watch AEW or vice versa. That's what I want to know, but I don't know if we're ever going to find that out.
Honestly, because it's pretty much the same exact fan base, and that's kind of the problem right now. And I think that's kind of what like Vince sees. It's like, okay, we're basically chopping a core fan base right in half. Like, that's not going to exactly grow. And his whole thing is we need to bring in other fans, which that has been the problem.
They got
for
the
both
older demographic compared to
50
AEW.
and over, yeah, 50 and over.
Like 35 plus, whatever.
Yep.
It's probably the younger one. The
18 to 249.
It's the hip new thing that everybody. It's not WWE, so it was like, hey, I'm gonna go watch AEW. But besides that,
how was Sasha?
Oh yes.
And Bayley?
It was I enjoyed the match. It was a good match. The fan person in me wanted Shotzi and Tegan to knock him off, but
yeah, I was kind of hoping for that too.
That didn't happen. So Sasha and Bayley retained the women's tag team titles.
And I also heard too. Didn't Io confront?
Io came out, yeah,
Okay.
Io front too. So I'm like, oh, okay. I'm interested to see what that's going on because you won't do that. You're not going to do that for nothing.
No,
That'd be pointless.
No.
I hope to God not. So that's,
I mean, Io versus Sasha, take my money.
Take my 2 hours.
Like
whatever.
I'm trying to think of other matches. It just with WWE, that's probably the best one that you could do right now. Is Io versus Sasha right now? That I can think of.
If you're bringing in main roster,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm struggling to think of what's maybe a better match right now than. I mean, like maybe Sasha versus Bianca. That would probably be pretty damn good too. But
it's still one. That's main roster.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah. I mean, just currently right now.
I think you can do maybe a Sasha and a Ripley. I wouldn't be opposed to that.
It's just with a Ripley, it's just she's just so stale right now. She's like lost so much steam. It's like
Bianca hasn't appeared on Raw.
Yeah,
I don't care about. I'm not talking about the steam.
Okay.
I'm just talking about.
If we're just talking
strictly talent versus talent. Regardless of steam, you can build it back up. I don't care. So, yeah, that's pretty much what off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, as far as Dynamite, was a pretty solid show this week. And we pretty much have the complete card for Fyre Fest, which is in 2 weeks. Which, as of now, off the top of my head, we have Brian Cage versus Moxley, Cody versus Jake Hager, Orange Cassidy versus Chris Jericho, Best Friends versus Kenny and Hangman, and for some reason, Penelope Ford versus Hikaru Shida. I have very low expectations for that, by the way. And those were pretty much the exact like main ones. But one good match I'm really am looking forward to for next week's Dynamite, Matt. Wardlow versus Luchasaurus. My God, that is going to be amazing.
I kind of want to see that.
I cannot wait to see that.
I hope they do it good.
And I mean, it can't be said enough. Anything involving Jungle Boy and MJF, it's just gold. Like, there's just such a natural rivalry there, Matt, that like it's just with their like intensity and everything, and it really does feel like that they're probably setting up to a tag team match between MJF and like Wardlow versus Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus at Fyre Fest. I would expect that's probably going to be made official next week. So yeah, you got that. And also this past week you had Cody's open challenge for the TNT title, which came in a new and a debuting Ricky Starks, who was formerly in the NWA and who was their TV champion too, I believe. And Tony Khan confirmed after Dynamite went off of the air that he has that he has officially signed as well. As far as him from a talent perspective, he can really talk. Really talk, and had a pretty good match with Cody. I just don't know where he exactly fits in, and hopefully we will kind of figure that out. And recall when I told you don't switch over to Dynamite?
Oh Jesus, I did, because like you piqued my interest.
I was like, who in the hell is this Abaddon girl who was pretty much a freaking zombie? I'll give her this.
She's committed.
She definitely stands out. I mean, give her that.
I
was just like, what?
I read. I just went. What did I text you? I gotta find it.
You were like, what the fuck? I'm pretty sure it is what you said, or something along those lines.
Okay, no, that was. Nope. Okay, nope.
I forget, but
it's on. It's I don't know. Oh, what the?
Yep. I was right. So he said that, and I was like, yeah. And I was pissed too because I am a huge Anna Jay fan. For one, she is hot as hell. Number two, she had a pretty good showing when she faced Hikaru Shida. I think that was back in like March.
I totally forgot about her.
So I was a pretty big fan of hers, and she got squashed.
Yeah,
and what was worse, she's apparently might be joined the Dark Order. I'm like, no. I'm like, are you trying to bury her?
What's the Dark Order's purpose?
Basically a cult who pretty much
it's just like
who pretty much brings up anyone who's on any sort of a small losing streak, and they gave Colt a freaking application.
Here's your application. Here's your application.
Yeah,
what cult has an application? I saw that one.
Yeah.
What?
And I believe.
Can you give me some letters of recommendation?
Yeah.
A cover letter and a resume and a letter of intent. Saying I would like to get my brainwashed.
Yeah, and I believe he's tagging with Brody for next week's show. I forget who they're facing, but he's involved in a tag team match. So there's that. I'm trying to figure out. Oh yeah, and you had Jericho and Sam Guevara versus Best Friends, which it was okay. Nothing really too special. But earlier, and
Best Friends get the win. Did I remember that wrong?
I believe that they did. I can't recall. But
they pinned Sammy.
Yeah,
I hope.
Yeah. I mean, if they did win, they definitely pinned Sammy. Jericho, he ain't getting pinned. Jericho only gets pinned when it's absolutely necessary. And I believe outside of like Moxley and some like cheap roll up. I would have
lost my mind.
No, well, especially too when he's going to be, he's.
You want him to look strong going in against Orange Cassidy. Let me tell you.
Well, first of all, he is not losing to Orange Cassidy.
If so, help me God.
He's not losing. Although Orange Cassidy is going to be giving him hell, but actually no. Now that I think of it, I think Jericho and Sammy won that match because, or God, I can't recall. But
we don't pay attention if we don't have to talk about it. Right
yeah, I mean that's what happens when you don't.
I swear I saw it.
I can't recall, but
anywho.
But I will say though, Orange Cassidy has an awesome Superman punch. Roman Reigns could learn from Orange Cassidy how to do a Superman punch, and I'm waiting for you to give me the most blank and stupid look right now. He's not if he's
a superhero movie, he's Fantastic Four. I won't go so much and say Green Lantern. I'm saying Fantastic Four.
So he's
wrong,
somehow
wrong.
Like Hal Jordan, then, right?
Wrong. I don't even know Fantastic Four. Wrong company. Because Superman punch, I don't care.
It's an amazing Superman punch.
What the hell? You can't get Lois Lane. The hell?
Where's Lois?
No, he's not going to get Lois Lane. Yeah. Somebody help. Call the Orange Man. Come save me. There's a bunch of, I don't know. I was going to say there's a bunch of
freshly
pulp.
Squeezed.
There's a bunch of pulp. And pairs attacking I don't know.
Pairs attacking.
A pair. I don't know. I couldn't. This is how stupid this conversation has made my IQ.
And speaking, did you hear anything about this segment with our role model Britt Baker? It was hilarious.
I heard some stuff. I didn't watch Dynamite this week. I just saw the Twitter stuff as
freaking Big Swole had like the worst impersonation of the Undertaker driving away. Do you recall when I take her when he drove away in the hearse with Teddy Long?
Yes,
they were parodying that. So she was like, "Where to?"
Why? Wait, why did she? Wait.
Well, do you recall she with Baker? She's in her mobile there.
Yes.
So
I need the context here.
Yeah. So for some reason Rebel, she wasn't there, and so in her place, Big Swole just kind of slides right in there, and she says where to, and drives her off. And then it was like a half an hour or so later, we find out Britt
in a
dumpster, and she's pissed because earlier in the night she says to Shivani, "We are on a friendship timeout right now." So she's screaming. She was like, "Where's Shivani? Call Shivani right now!" And she's just flipping out on like Rebel, and she was like, "Where were you?" She was like, "In the bathroom." She was in the bathroom apparently for a solid hour, and she's just flipping out, and it's just
she really had to go.
She really had to go, and I'm just in tears at this point. I'm like, I love everything about Britt Baker. She's just so entertaining, and she was pulling this off tremendously. And honestly, I really, really want to see her versus Big Swole right now. I cannot wait for that match right now.
It apparently has to happen, because why would have Big Swole just handicap?
Where to? So
where to, Teddy?
Yeah. So and
Teddy with the fake.
And my sister's boyfriend, he was watching this. He was like, "What the hell is going on here?" I was like, I'm trying to explain this to him, and throughout the whole entire thing, I can't stop laughing because it's so hilarious. So yeah, that was Dynamite. I'm trying to think if I missed anything, but I think that pretty much covered everything. As I said, Firefest is in 2 weeks. Also, NXT is going to be having a pretty load show for when a Firefest. So.
At least the winner take all match,
which from what I understand with Firefest, it's gonna be pretty much treated as a pay-per-view, and supposedly from that podcast that I watched from this morning, supposedly this was supposed to be exclusively on Bleacher Report, but apparently that changed at the very last second, sort of thing. Because I was thinking, so why do they have this deal with them and they're not gonna? I mean, outside of the pay-per-views, because if you recall last summer when they had Firefest, Fight for the Fallen, with those two shows, you would think, hey, they'll probably have those there, but supposedly TNT wants more exclusive shows, which you can completely understand. But I mean, I would not having minded that, but I completely understand because they want them to try and get closer and raise up with their viewership there. So we'll keep an eye on that. But and there was one other wrestling thing or actually too. Did you hear about the craziness going on at the performance center with COVID?
Yeah, I've read some stuff.
And supposedly it's been pretty crazy. And so much so that I believe that Kevin Owens pretty much is refusing to even do any more tapings. And the one thing that kind of just blows my mind though, Matt, why in the hell were they not even testing when they're like you hear from the Observer, Sean Ross Sapp, pretty much anyone, they said WWE has not done a single test since the whole pandemic has been a thing. Like, to me, that's incredibly irresponsible. Like,
I don't know. I guess they just did temperature checks.
Yeah, that was just pretty much it. I'm just like, well, because too, the person who tested positive was pretty much there a week or so ago. So who knows if that person could have infected anyone else? You would think that they would have aired a little bit more cautiously, you know.
I don't buy the temperature things unless it's really obvious that a fever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're sick, don't say you're sick and don't show up. But
right.
You can be asymptomatic and not have
where you could
fever.
have zero symptoms.
Yeah. And so it's almost because next week the high school I work at is having our prom. Obviously, it's delayed, and I'm going to work there. And I think everybody, at least the staff, the hotel staff, I think maybe us as well, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, doing the temperature checks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's all well and good. Everybody has to wear a mask. But again, like, you can be asymptomatic, and like a student or a worker may have the symptoms, and they have to give us their serving the food, and if somebody touches, I don't know what could happen. Somebody can get infected. Who knows? So it's gonna be weird if everybody has to dance with a mask on.
Well, and supposedly too,
but
if you believe what's being reported, that supposedly they're not even allowing people to wear any masks, which
there was I think there was conflicting reports of people saying that they weren't never told not to wear them.
Basically, they said if you want to wear a freaking mask, don't show up. And supposedly Kevin Dunn supposedly said, you're not a true fan if you wear a mask with
what did he say?
Which makes no sense, by the way. You're not a fan if you wear a mask to these tapings, to these shows, which I'm trying to figure out, how does that relate to being a fan?
And then apparently Street Profits did their thing in the crowd, and apparently that wasn't planned, but
no.
I don't know if the camera was in there, so it wasn't. I don't know. All this stuff's coming out again. Another thing, I don't know how much to believe, but I believe it's obviously something is happening, at least with the mask thing and all that fun stuff, because they did allow people outside, like family, friends and stuff, wrestlers, to be in the crowd last Monday, and then somebody was tested positive, and the SmackDown tapings were postponed. It's a whole.
It's pretty crazy right now.
It's a whole fun thing.
Yeah, and according to the one Twitter account of WrestleVotes, who screenshotted from his source, was pretty much questioning the whole entire.
That's one of the things like that. Yeah. I saw. I was like, that could be anybody saying stuff like.
I will say this, so he's really accurate on everything. So if he's saying that, then
it is. But that's like me.
I take a look at
anybody like that's stuff like it leaves room for interpretation and doubt of somebody said this. Obviously, somebody, you want to keep that person's secret, but I don't know. But you get my point on how it's just a screenshot.
It's a source, yeah. It's a source.
But there is more. If it was okay, if it was just him saying this and that was it, then it'd be doubt. But there's a lot of multiple reports, so there is obviously something to this.
Yeah.
How
Where
much
there's
is
smoke, there is fire.
yes, and we don't want the smoke in this case.
God damn you.
Sorry, I had to. It was pretty much up there for me to take, and I hit it out of the park.
You probably wish that you could do that with your relationship status, huh?
Hit it out of the park.
It's more like a swing and a miss.
Just a bit outside.
But anyways, continue your thought there, Mr. Matt.
No, I was done after you started mocking me. I was done.
Okay.
I just said no, we don't want the smoke, and that was it. There was not much more to that.
Okay, and the last thing we want to discuss on wrestling was episode 4 of The Last Ride with The Undertaker, which this episode was pretty much about WrestleMania 35, I believe, and with the Saudi shows.
Yes.
That they were covered. And the Saudi shows were
the Goldberg.
Were the Goldberg match, and before that was the tag team match with Undertaker and Kane versus Shawn Michaels and Triple H, which both of those matches were disasters.
And the Extreme Rules match,
which that was pretty good. And you could tell Taker was just so relieved.
They were talking about he was feeling it during that match, and I think all parties involved made that work well. That was a great tag match between Shane and Drew and Taker and Roman. So that it's almost a constant back and forth with the Taker. Like, have a bat match, I got to redeem myself. Redeems himself. Oh, I think I could still go, and all this fun stuff. So it's that constant internal struggle, and then we fast forward to last year's Mania, which we were at, and I don't think at the time we knew he was backstage, but he was backstage watching as basically a fan, and Gorilla, and I think he left a little bit early too. But
and supposedly everyone was pissed at him. Why did you not bring your gear?
Well, yeah, because Vince wanted him on the next night. And I totally forgot he appeared on the next night with Elias.
I completely forgot that too.
I was like, wait, he was there? We were there.
I was like,
oh,
Elias.
Yeah. You're a dead man. The dong. Everybody, when you heard Elias say dead man, everybody was like, oh. But I can't believe that, like, what a dedication that he, was it the Saturday before, night before Mania, or Friday? One of those two, I think. He flew home.
It was actually on like Saturday. I think it was Saturday.
Flew home, got his stuff, and immediately flew back to New York because Vince asked him to do something on Monday, which, holy crap, dedication right there. That must have sucked.
All right, so we had to shortly pause the podcast real quick there and just getting back with the Undertaker talk.
In case you see we're probably going to see a dramatic pause and break.
Yeah. So I mean, like you just saw, like definitely with the Goldberg match, his family and friends were really concerned about him, because Goldberg almost pretty much
broke his neck.
Almost broke his neck, which, boy, like and like you could tell with his wife was just really concerned, and then like Taker just had lost all of his confidence and just had a whole bunch of things.
Plus, I think Taker said that that Goldberg was probably concussed in that match, which doesn't help.
No,
because we saw what happened with him and Lesnar at 30, Mania 30. That Taker wasn't all there, and that match kind of coast.
Right.
So I know it sucks, but the crap happens, and unfortunately, he came within a slight angle and inches of being done for good. Not even going out on his own decision. Be doctor saying that you're screwed up. So he's lucky there, and yeah. So and I like the tease at the end, the show when he's walking with AJ, and that camera's cut off. Obviously, we know what happens this year with the Boneyard match and him wanting to wrestle with AJ. So it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how the behind the scenes, how they interact leading up to this year's Mania, and what could happen possibly later, because they keep teasing the Undertaker with AJ. Not so much now, but
I would imagine that's probably going to be happening somewhat soon. So
I figure Survivor Series is a good place. It's 30 years to the day, right?
Yep.
So do something that way. I mean,
yeah, I could see it happening. So yeah, we'll see how that turns out and the finale, as we said, that's going to be this Sunday. Definitely.
Isn't this Sunday?
Yep, it's a Sunday.
That was my dates.
Yep, this Sunday. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it's this Sunday. So, all right, and the last thing we wanted to talk about was Major League Baseball. Oh God, this thing has been, needless to say, a pain to be following. One second you're hearing from the commissioner that there is no hope, then at the next second you hear, oh, we came to a preliminary agreement, and then you hear, actually not really, they're still pretty far apart as far as the games are concerned, and that's the big hold up right now.
And there's another thing, that stuff's coming out today of people, not just baseball, but getting players getting tested positive for COVID.
Which that to me is getting me more concerned about sports in general and coming back. Just because I think I even saw with the Clemson Tigers on football team, I think like 23 of the 28 people who they tested were from the university or whatever. 23 players tested positive on there, and I think with the Tampa Bay Lightning, they had to shut down with their team facilities because of a few people testing positive. It's getting really, I think, harder and harder for people to I think for us to realistically get back to things going to normal. It's also getting me really concerned about football as well when that comes up.
And then another story I'm just seeing trending on Twitter that this is from the LA Times, that UCLA football players are demanding that a third-party health official be on hand for all football activities to see that protocols for COVID-19 are followed, saying they don't trust Coach Chip Kelly's program to act in their best interest. So who knows,
brother? But anyways, getting back onto baseball. I don't know if these guys are going to come to a contract agreement. It's just like I thought when was it, on Tuesday or Wednesday, that they had come to some sort of an agreement, but turned out that's not exactly what happened. And
bouncing back and forth here, just seeing on Twitter again, Conkey, apparently Austin Matthews plays for Toronto, has tested positive for COVID. So you have that stuff with players getting tested positive. That's the big thing. Now, you still go through with it, and if somebody's tested positive, you just pull them out, but then you have everybody else around them, you have to test them, and that might not be, symptoms might not show up for 10 to 14 days. I think that's still a thing. It just seems like every day it's wear a mask, don't wear a mask, please wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Whatever. And we see at least the southern states now, with things opening up, apparently there are spikes, or at least the cases are going back up, like Florida and California and what have you. And so more of the southern states and more northern states, even PA, given all the crap everybody's giving the governor, have been going down or have been fairly low. And I obviously can contribute that to people wanting to travel and take a vacation. It's in the summer. If that's obviously, I think the spikes, I think it's close enough, a big enough sample size that you can make that conclusion, I think. So yeah, it's interesting to see what happens in the next several weeks and months. If there are more spikes in these southern locations in southern states,
especially Florida,
yeah. And you're seeing places really mandate face masks now, or re-mandate them. See what happens if I don't know. I don't know if you do a shutdown. I don't know if that's even feasible. But
I mean, like, I don't think with the economy that they can really afford that, honestly, for another shutdown. You know?
Yeah, and we're going to Vegas in August for a bachelor party, and who knows by the time August rolls around how that's going to be affected.
I'm still up in the air if that's going to even continue, because if this keeps on getting worse, I mean, I know
we're going to have to take more precautions than we're normally used to right now here in PA. I mean, masks are going to pretty much be mandatory anywhere we go there. Or pretty much any business right now in general. But it might be a different animal. I don't know. So it's in getting back to the sports, like I'm saying, not to repeat myself, but like I don't know what you do if all of these players are getting tested positive, or enough players are testing positive. Like I said, if you pull them out, right? And you keep going. What's stopping other people from possibly having it and having a delay in symptoms? I mean, like the NHL agreed on the playoff format, they just need to agree on other stuff and get stuff worked out. In baseball, it was about the money, and the union counterproposed 70 games when the owners in the Major League Baseball said 60. I don't know why you can just say 65. And they getting their money. And apparently, I was listening to the clip from Rich Eisen's show. I think I retweeted. I don't know if you saw it. About he was talking to somebody saying that MLB didn't even have health and like safety, whatever you want to call it, procedures finalized in place, or even before talking about negotiations start the season, or what have you. So, like, from what I'm reading, it's just like a giant cluster of everything that the more you wait, we're getting going in July after next week, and at this point, is it even worth having a season if, when it comes down to it, it's 50 games? You're gonna get to 40 games. Where do you play the games? You're gonna have a spring training camp, what have you. Hey, the AC's off. Like, all this stuff comes into play, and I just don't know if you're gonna have a season. And quite frankly, what a NBA and NHL, there's nothing guaranteed for that either.
No.
Right now, we basically have UFC, PG golf, and NASCAR are the big 3 right now in America.
And the difference is with the like, UFC is just they have like obviously a set protocol in place where it's clearly working. Yeah, they are still getting some positive tests, but they're testing people pretty much every day. So it's just like there's so much more people when it comes to football, basketball, hockey, and whatnot. You know, it's pretty obvious there. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to really talk about here, Matt.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything. The only thing, the thing I wanted to touch on was the dust off Africa. I talked about that. Yeah, I think that's the big stuff other than the obvious going on in America. But why you don't need us to hear our opinions on that anymore?
No,
something big happened.
Yeah. So yeah, Matt. You can take us home there.
Yes.
If you're ready.
So again, thank you everybody for watching this week's episode. This was episode 45. We will be back, presumably on Wednesday.
Actually, unfortunately, I will not be able to actually
the reaction show.
Hit that show. Yeah. Unfortunately I was scheduled for a like a haircut at like 8:30, so right
it's a haircut at 8:30 at night,
right. It was pretty much the only time that they could take it. So
okay, so we're not going to have another reaction this week.
Unfortunately we are not going to be having a reaction show this week,
and trust me, you don't want to hear me go solo. Maybe you do. So no reaction this week. So we'll be back next Saturday for episode 46. Until then, subscribe if you haven't already. If you're new to the channel, if you're just discovering us, leave a comment. Not the suspected bots, I believe, or keep leaving comments on every video. They're saying the same thing. But nonetheless, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next Saturday.